Today, we're going to be covering a bunch of Notion formulas ranging all the way from math, dates, checkboxes, if statements, and much more. So if you're brand new to Notion or want to learn a little bit more about how formulas work, specifically in databases, this video is for you. Let's jump on this Notion sheet that I created and we're going to walk right through it. So right at the very top, let's talk about how formulas work. So what you're gonna have to do is create a database. Now for this example, we're gonna be doing inline databases. So we're gonna do inline over here and click over where it says database inline. You can see this over here. Now there's names and tags. We're gonna delete this tags column. So delete that property, then press this plus icon over here. And then it's gonna say new property on the right. Type in formula and boom, we have this formula page, which is fantastic. What I'm also going to do, just to show you guys the very basics, is we're going to add another column over here. We're going to do a number, and we're just going to keep it like that and drag it over. So let's get into actually building out your first formula. What we're going to do over here is click formula, and then you can see you have properties, you have constant operators, and we're going to cover every single thing that is in here within this video. Functions. It goes down all the way over here. So there's quite a lot to cover, but we're going to show you the very basics of the properties. Now, when you click something like name or numbers, it's attached to these two over here. So for example, we click name and it says prop name. Now this will get the information from this column. So I'm going to just click done, right? And you see that there's nothing there because there's nothing in this name column. Now let's put my first name over here. We're going to type in Ryan. And you can see at the same time that this formula has Ryan propped in there. Now this prop is case sensitive. So if I do name as a lowercase, right? Property not found, prop name. So there's no name specifically under this. Now, if I make one with a name with a lowercase n, it will pick up that. So watch this. So we'll go over here. We're going to do a text column and we're going to name this name lowercase, right? Now these are two different things. And I'm going to put my last name in here, Nolan, right? So now if we go over to this formula and we do lowercase n, you guys can see that my last name shows. So when you're doing these, they are case sensitive. To grab the column, once again, you have to make sure you do prop, but what makes it easy is you go over here to properties, you can grab that. So for example, you see number, right? It's going to be blank. Let's click on that. It says prop number. There's nothing there. We put in over here, say 11, and that shows. So make sure you guys do prop and make sure that the case sensitivity works. Now the same exact thing with spacing. So let's say we have number 5 right here as the column name. And when we go to prop, you see how it says number 5 over here. We do delete that, right? Property not found. So make sure the spaces work as well. So with the basics out of the way, let's now dive deep into the first portion of formulas, which is numbers. Now, we're going to take you some very elementary ones and work our way up to some more advanced stuff like logarithms. Now, you're probably not going to use logarithms on a daily basis, but if you do want to use some more advanced math, make sure to stay tuned for that. I created 3 rows. We're going to throw in some numbers over here, and that way I can show you guys the different formulas. So we're going to put 5, we'll put 11, 6, 2, and then we'll put 8. And then we'll also put 8. What you're first going to do is put add, and you can put 2 specific numbers. So let's say we put 5 and 3, right? So that's going to give me 8, but it's going to go across all of these because we're not grabbing the specific information from the column. So as I showed you above, we're going to prop it. So you see how there's all these different properties over here. Within that add function, we can add in prop number 1, comma 3. Now this adds 3 to everything that's over here. So you can see 5 plus 3 is 8, 6 plus 3 is 9, and 8 plus 3 is 11. But what makes this really fun is once you add in also number 2. So we'll put number 2 over there, and you can see it adds both specific columns. Same exact thing exists for multiply. So we'll type in multiply over here. Now, what we can do is type in numbers. We'll do 5 and 3, right? 15. We can do the same exact things with the props. So let's just do number 1 and also number 2, comma right over there, and delete these 2. And that multiplies them across. Same thing with subtract. So let's do the subtract. Again, you can use whatever numbers. We're going to put over here prop number 1 and prop number 2. Should close that out over there. All that goes over here as well. And the same thing with division. So we're going to do divide. And we're going to do number 1 and number 2. And you guys can see that is a very long decimal. Now here's one you guys might not be familiar with, and that is the mod function. What that is the remainder of division. So for example, over here, 5 and 11, well, you can't really divide that. So you're going to have a remainder of 5, 6 and 2. It's a clean split. So it's going to be 0, 8 and 8. Again, a clean split. So it would be 0. Another example is 5 and 2. That would be 1. I'll show you guys that one right now. So if we do mod, then put in 5 and 2, you'll see that 1 is across all those columns. Now we're going to do mod number 1 and number 2 so you guys can see that. So we're just going to grab those over there, and 5, 0, and 0. Next we have min and max. So that's going to give us the smallest number and also the largest number. So we're going to go over here and type in min. Again, put in your arguments over here. So we're just going to do number 1 and number 2. And there we go, 5, 2, and 8. That looks correct, right? 5, 2, and 8. And we're going to do the same thing with max, right? 1 and number 2. You guys can see 11, 6, and 8. Up next, we have decimals. So sometimes you don't like the formatting, like above where it's 0.454545, continue on forever. You want to have things around it. So let's put in a few decimal examples. We're going to put 3.33. We'll put over here a 0.45, 45, 45, 45, and then we'll put a 1.77 for the other ones. So up first is round, and this is going to be your normal round that you're used to from school, where if anything is 0.50 or higher, is going to round up to the next one. So we have 3.33, that'll round to 3, 0.5 will round to 0, and 1.77 will round to 2. So we're going to do over here round, right? And we're going to grab number 1 and close that out. And you guys can see 3, 0, and 2. Next, we have ceiling. So this will round up to the next number. So 3.33 will round to 4, 0.45 will round to 1, and then 1.77 will round to 2. So we're going to put that over here, seal, and then we'll put number 1. Close that out, and you guys can see the numbers are up. Now floor is going to round down. So 3.33 will be 3, 0.45 will be 0, and 1.77 will also be is a 1. So put that over here, floor, and then we'll put over here prop number 1. And again, make sure you have that correct because it won't grab it. So 3, 0, and 1. The section on negative numbers. So we're going to put in a few different examples, both positive and negative. So we're going to put over here negative 6. We'll put over here 13. And then we'll put over here negative 8.1. So first is we have unary minus. So we're going to put over there unary minus. And then we're going to put over here prop number 1. Close that out. And you guys can see I put 2 of those right there. And what this is going to do is negate the sign. So you can see negative 6 has turned into 6. 13 has turned into negative 13. And negative 8.1 has turned to 8.1. Now sign is going to tell you if a number is positive or negative, and it'll be the representation of 1. So negative 6 should turn negative 1. 13 should turn positive 1, and negative 8.1 should turn negative 1. So we're going to add that in there, sign, and then add in number 1. And there we go, negative 1, 1, and negative 1. Absolute is going to give you the positive number, the largest amount. So negative 6 will turn into 6, 13 will turn into 13, and negative 8.1 will turn into 8.1. So abs right there. And then we're going to put over here number 1. So prop. And there you guys go. You can see. Now this section is going to be advanced math. Very few people are going to actually use this, but we're going to go and show you the examples. So throw in some random numbers over here. We're going to start with square root. So we're going to put 25, we'll put 49, and then we'll put also 100. So square root, we're going to put over here is SQRT, and then we'll put number 1. Square root of 25 is going to be 5, 7, and also 10. Now this is a cube root, so we're going to do this again. So 25 times 5 is 125. 49 times 7, I think is 343, if I remember correctly. And then 100 times 10, we're going to put 1,000 over here. And we're going to do the same exact thing, cube root. And then we're going to put number 2 this time. And there we go, 5, 7, and 10, which is really great. Now we're up into powers. I'm actually going to clear these out real quick for you guys. What that's going to do is, like, if you take 5 and you square it, it's going to be 25, or you take it to the third, it's going to be 125. So we're going to do those number arguments for number 1 and 2 over here. So what we're going to do is super easy stuff. We're going to do 3, 4, and also 5. And we're going to raise these to the powers of 1, 2, and also 3. So we're going to type this in here, power, and then we're going to do number 1 and prop number 2. And you guys can see it's going to turn 3, 16, and also 125. EXP, this is going to be a power, except it deals with, I think it's Euler's or Euler's constant. Can't remember, took math such a long time ago. Kind of embarrassed because I did math competitions. Either way, this is going to be e raised to x, whatever this is going to be over here. We're going to do it for number 2. So you can see over here, and e, by the way, is 2.7. It's a constant. So you can see it's 2.718 over here. Cool. We're going to do exp. And then we're going to do over here as number 1. And that's that information. I meant to put number 2, but you guys can see how that lines up. Up next, we have 3 basic examples of logs. We're going to start off with log 10 in number 1, and then log 2 in number 2. So log is like, it's kind of the reverse of power. So for example, if we do log 10 and 100, we're going to get back 2. If we do 1,000, we're going to get back 3. So we're going to do 10, 100, and 1,000. And then for the log 2, what we're going to do is the same exact thing. So we're going to do 2, 4, and also 8. So we're going to get the same results with both of these. So let's make sure we do that. We'll do log 10, and then that's number 1. You see it's going to be 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do log 2, prop number 2. And we should get 1, 2, 3 as well. We're doing natural log, and this deals with Euler's constant once again. So we're just going to do this basic one right over here. I'm not going to explain the math, ln e, and then we're going to get 1 as the result. And there we go. Awesome. So now we are in the strings section. Let's put in some text over here. So we're going to put over here Tampa, and we're going to put raise. Next, we're going to put Ryan. And then we're going to put A, and then we're going to do test, and then we're going to put ST like that. So first we're going to do concat, which adds the 2 strings together. So we're going to put concat, and we're going to put in prop text 1 and also prop text 2, just like that. And then you guys can see that this data is right there, Tampa raise, right? Ryan A, and test ST. Now add is going to be doing the same exact thing. If you guys remember earlier, we did add under basic math. Well, Notion has that as well for an example of a concat. I prefer using concat just not to confuse the formulas, but if you want to use add, it is up to you. So do the same exact thing over here. So I'm just going to literally copy this formula, and then we're going to do add. And boom, we get the same exact stuff. Up next, we have an even more powerful version of concat, and this is join. So what you can do is, let's say you have like 3 or 4 different words and you want to have a space between them and add them to a column, you would want to use join. So we're going to use the same exact example over here. So what we're going to do is join. And first we're going to add in that space. So I'm going to do something like that. And then we're going to do over here text1 and then also text2. We're going to close this out over here. And now you guys can see that there is a space between all of those. We can have some other examples too. So like, let's say I wanted to put a slash, right? You can see how this puts a slash across the 3 of them. And what's cool is you can continue to add more stuff. So let's say testing like that, right? And now you see that there's a 3rd string over there. We're just going to delete testing because we don't want to have that. It kind of looks bad. And that is how you do it. Now is the slice side of things. And this is a little confusing at first. So we're going to put over here slice. And what we're going to do is going to do text1. So we'll put prop text1. Now you get to work on the string. So one thing in programming, which might be a little bit confusing for you guys at first, is the first letter of the string is going to be considered spot 0. And then the last one is going to be the length -1. You can actually build out some kind of complex formulas here at Notion based around it. But just for a basic concept, we're going to grab the first letter of each of these strings. So we're going to do 0 and also 1 for the slice. And it closes out. And you guys can see it grabs the first letter of each single one for 0, 1, right? So what we're going to do now is go to 0, 2, right? And it says right there, TA, RY, and then TE. So what we can do now is if we do 1, 2, right? A, Y, and E. A little confusing at first, but once you get it, you should understand it. Now, as I mentioned with slice, length is going to actually tell you how long a string is. So all you have to do is put length and then put in your number. So I'm going to put over here and then put in your string. So go back to prop text1. And this is actually going to replace you with an integer. So 5, 4, and 4. We're going to do replace now. And what I'm going to do is replace all the A's in text1 with I. So what we're going to do is go over here and type in replace and then do prop text1. Then we're going to do A. So all these are going to be lowercase examples. So I'm going to just put this in lowercase A. And then I want to replace it with I. So make sure I is there. And then close that one out over here. And now you can see Tampa turned into Timpa, Ryan turned into Ryan, and then test, since there's no I in it, is still going to be that right over there. Now under the replace example for Timpa, you can see that there's 2 A's, but only the first one changed. Well, with replace all the examples are going to change. So this is going to be turning into Timpy. I think that's how you pronounce it. So we're going to do the same exact formula over here, except we're going to have all added as well. So now you can see Timpy, Ryan, right? Because there's only 1 A, and then test is the same. Now with toNumber and unary plus, we can actually change a string into a specific number. We're actually going to create another text column over here for you guys. And we're going to put over here, type text num, and I'll show you guys those examples. And we're just going to bring that over here. So let's put in some examples. We'll say we have 55 as a string. We'll have 22 and also 11. Now this is what it's going to do. toNumber is actually format this into the specific number. So it will be now an integer. So toNumber, and then we'll put over here as text num. Now this is a specific number that's attached to it, not a string. And it's the same thing with unary plus. So just copy this formula. Now to show you guys this works, we're going to add toNumber plus unary plus. So we're going to go over here and do add. It's the operator, not the property. And you guys can see that the example's over here. And just to show you guys that you wouldn't be able to add text number since it is a string, we'll put over here capital, remember, text num. And then see type mismatch prop toNumber does not work in this example. Make sure that you have them as numbers. Now we're going to jump into dates. I split this up into 2 different parts. One for the extraction of a part of a date, and then part 2, different things that you can do with it. So we're going to throw in a few dates over here. And Also, if you want to add in extra things as well, you can go over here and click include time or an end date. So we're going to add in some times over here. We're going to do just random stuff. We'll throw in here that. We're going to put another date, go way back over here. Again, time, put over here, 3:33 p.m. And then we'll just do future date, good time, and there we go. So first thing what we're going to do is grab the specific minute that's associated with it. So we're going to just type in minute and then grab your date, prop, and date 1. And then you guys can see grabs 11:33 and also 0. Same thing with hour, do hour, and then prop, date 1, 6:15 and 0. Day, date 1, 1 and 1. You may be wondering, why is it 1? Well, if you look, this is a Monday. If you look, this is a Monday. And if you look, this is also a Monday. So if we change this up, let's say we'll change this to the 25th, which in that case is going to be Wednesday. It is a 3, right? Friday, 5, Saturday, 6. Month-wise, let's change up this one from January to December. We're going to do month. And then we're going to put over here date 1, 0, 4, and 11. And then we're going to do year, which we have 22 and 23. The second part of dates, we're going to throw in some more dates in here as well. Do some more random ones. And for some of these as well, we're going to add in a end date. So you can have those different examples over here. So we're going to end this date off. We'll say 5 a.m. for this one. We're going to say for the end date on this one, 23. And end date on this one, we'll say May. No, put 4:54 another time. So we're going to start off with start. So this is going to tell you the start date of any specific thing. So we're going to put over here start. We're going to do date 1. And look, it'll tell you the exact day that you start with all these rather than having the specific end date. End is going to do the same exact thing except with the specific end date. So we'll put over here date 1. And look, so instead of having all the specific information here, right? Start, end, start, end, start, end. You can see start right here, end, start, and end. Now it's just going to tell you exactly what time it is at the specific moment. So as I'm recording, you can see January 21st, 2023 at 12:08 p.m. Now timestamp's interesting. It'll give you the exact milliseconds since 1970. So we're going to timestamp and we're going to do prop. And we're going to do end dates. So we'll just put an end over there. And you guys can see each of these are going to be different numbers for the timestamps. Now, before we get into date add and date subtract, let's add in another column over here as a number. And we're going to be manipulating some of the different dates. So put this over here. Let's add in some numbers. So we'll put it over here, 3. We'll say 8. And we'll also say like, I don't know, 11. Okay. So we're going to start with date add. So put over date add. And you can see over here, date, number, and then the text. So first we're going to grab the date, which is going to be, let's do our end date. So we'll put end over here. Great. Next, we need to have a specific number that's associated with this. So we're going to grab in that number column. So we're going to go over here, number, and it adds to the property from number. Lastly, we need to figure out what type of day that we're going to be adding it to this. So if you go back once again to date add, you can see that you have years, quarters, months, week, days, hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. A lot of different options to choose. For example, if I choose days and we have the end date, if I chose 3 for this one, this will be February 17th. 8 will be January 29th. So we'll put over here day, and remember, make this case sensitive. So if you look at all these are all lowercase and it says days. So we'll put this over here as days. And you can see over there, February 17th, January 29th, and June 10th. And I'll show you guys some more examples also for the date add. So let's add in months. So now you can see that this added in 3 specific months, right? May, September, and April. Now we go over here and do years. We're looking way in the future, 25, 31, and 2027, but really a lot of options depending on how you want it. Now date subtract is going to do the exact opposite. So instead of adding, we're going to subtract. So throw in that formula over there. And if we did years, you guys can see 19, 15, and 2005. Date between is interesting because it'll tell you the time between 2 specific things. So we're going to do subtract and add, but then it'll give you the specific information. So like if you wanted to do years, if you wanted to do minutes, however you want. So kind of like the same options with add and subtract. So we're going to put in date between. And you guys can see over here, years, quarter, months, weeks, hours, minutes, seconds, and also milliseconds. So we're going to do date between, and we're going to do date subtract and date add. So put in here date subtract and date add. And then we're going to put over here, let's do minutes, which again, make sure that is a string, all lowercase, make sure it matches up specifically. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And you can see it's going to be negative because there's a difference between those two. But if we had date add first, you're going to get a positive number. So we're going to change that over here. Date add, we're going to put a positive in this example. And now we have the example, so you know how specifically it works. Now we're jumping into checkboxes, which there's quite a few different variations of how to use it. We're going to just start off with having 2 specific checkboxes here and using some logic. So before we do that though, I'll show you guys that a checkbox can also be a number. So we're going to do a to number, and we're going to grab over here number 1. I should have renamed these earlier, but that's all right. And of course, make sure you spell this correctly. And you guys can see that there's zeros all across the board because these checkboxes have not been selected. So when I grab these over here, 1. So a checkbox can either be defined as a 0 or 1, kind of binary in the example. But that's very helpful when you look at these expressions over here, not, and, or, equal, not equal, and empty. So we're going to start off with not. We're going to put over here not, and we're going to grab number 1, right? And it's going to be the exact opposite. So since all these are not checked, we're going to have all these checkboxes over here. But if we check these, we're going to have those as the complete opposite. Up next, we have the and. And for how that works is you're going to have both of the same quality to be true. So if we're going to have a checkbox right here, both this and this have to be checked. Only one of these are checked, it's going to return as a blank, which is a 0, as you guys can see with the to number. So let's put it over here as and then we're going to put over here num1 and num2. And you guys can see that all these are going to be blank. Now we add in 1 over here and 2, boom, right? We have one of these over here, doesn't work, and then both blank, that's going to be that. Up next, we have or. So for or to work, we would have to have one specific checkbox to be a 1. So this one has both. We're going to have, this is one checkbox. This has one of them. It'll have one checkbox as well. Since these are both blank, it'll be a 0. And these Booleans are pretty specific to programming. If you've taken any of these classes. If not, no worries. This is kind of like a brief way to do it. So we're going to type in here an or, and then same exact thing, right? Num1 and num2. Num1, 2. Done. And look at that. We have those across. Equal. So you have to have these be the same to be true. So since these are both checkboxes, that is going to be true. Since one of these is a checkbox, one is blank, that's going to be false. And since both of these are blanks, they are equal. So it's going to be that. So equal num1, num2, close, and check that out. Up next, we have unequal. So we're going to type that in, and it's going to be the opposite of equal. Since both of these are true over here, this is going to return a false. Since these are different, it'll return a true. Since these are the same, it'll return a false. we're going to do number 1 and number 2. And close. And voila, opposite of equal and empty. We'll truly detect if this is empty or not. So empty. We're just going to put over here num1. And then you can see, since that one is empty, it'll have a checkbox. The other ones will not. Up next, we have checkboxes with numbers. So let's add in some more numbers over here. So first we're going to do larger. So larger, 1, num2. And you can see, since this one is larger, it'll have the checkbox. These are equal, so there's none. And then since this is smaller, there is none over there. Larger, equal. So this one, very similar, right? So put num1, num2. You can see this one's going to be checked off this time since these are both equal numbers. Now this is going to be the opposite logic for smaller and smaller equal. So put those in here as well so you guys can see it. So we'll start with smaller, num1, num2, and then smaller equal. And you guys can see over here, smaller, right? Larger, so that doesn't show. And then since these are equal, we're going to have that one. So smaller equal and larger equal, if the numbers are the same, you're going to have those as the same checkbox. Empty, pretty much the same as the one above, right? This time we're going to check number 1 is empty. And you can see, right, it's going to be blank for all those. But if I take this one out over there, then we have empty showing. Now we're in a checkbox for strings. So we'll put in some strings over here. So first we're going to do the contains. So that over here, and this checks off if a string is within a string. So we'll put over here string 1 and also string 2. So it's going to be looking for an A in Nolan, Z in Raise, and then ION in Notion. Close that off over here. And then you should see 2 out of 3 because we have ION, we have an A, but there's no Z in Raise. And again, empty. Pretty helpful, right? And we'll put string 1 and none of them are empty. Close that one out. That is empty. Lastly, we have dates. So just throw in some dates over here. January 2nd. So larger, it looks for the date that's more ahead. So January 30th, 2023 is farther ahead than May 10th. September 28th, 2022 is less than the 26th. Second is less than there. It's larger, equal, same exact thing, right? Except equal dates. And I should probably change one of these to make them equal. And we're going to do that as well, just to show you guys it works. I'm going to do those two. Meant to put prop 1, string 1 first, but doesn't really matter. Larger, equal, same as the earlier stuff. Also in this case, they're the same date. So we'll put larger EQ, right? And I'll put over here string 1, and then string 2. That in there, right? Should only show that one, but let's change this one over to January 2nd as well. Here they're going to be the same. Smaller, be the opposite of these ones over here. So, right, this time these are be the same, so it's not smaller. September 28th is smaller than January 26th, 23, but this one is larger, so that one. And I should rename these instead of strings, but it doesn't really matter as well. These should be dates, but I was quickly making these tables before this video just to save some time. And smaller EQ. And once again with empty there. And if we click and empty will show. Now, before we get into if statements, which can combine everything that we did before, we have a few other things that really didn't fit in the category, and that is formatting and then also ID. Format is going to change whatever in there into a string, and ID is going to give you a specific string for your entry within a table. So let's just throw in some stuff for date. We're going to put over here January 3rd. Number, we're going to put 45. We'll put in some other dates as well. So put in, I don't know, 67. And then we'll go back here and then put 13 once again. And then we're going to format. We're going to actually duplicate this property. We can have two different formats for you guys. So format, and then we're going to put over here as the date. Now, this is a specific string. Again, format over here, format. So now all these 6 different entries are going to be specific strings. Now we're going to do ID, which is going to give you the specific string for an entry in this database. So we're going to just put ID here. Then you can see all these. And lastly, we have if statements, and you can get pretty complex with if statements. We're going to show you one example of a nested if. And if you guys want to see a lot more examples and more complex formulas, just let me know below in the comment section. Now, what we're going to do is first do some if statements with some text. So we're going to put over here raise, and then we'll put over here in column 2 raise. We're going to do raise capital again. We're going to have raise lowercase, and then one more time raise, and we're going to do Blue Jays. If you guys don't know, Tampa Bay Rays, my team growing up. So, and Blue Jays played in Dunedin, Tampa Bay area as well for a season during the lockdown, which is kind of cool. So we're going to go over here and do an if text statement. So we're going to do if, and we're going to do our 2 text strings, right? Text 1 equals, which is 2 equal signs in Notion, text 2. And then we're going to say if that is true, we're going to have our statement. So we're just going to put over here World Series, right, make sure they're in quotes. And then if not, we'll just say no. And then we're going to close that out over here. So you guys can see, since raise and raise are completely equal, World Series, which the Rays still need to win, this raise and this raise are not equal because of the capital R, you have a no. And lastly, Rays and Blue Jays, 2 completely different teams in the AL East. And that's why you have no. Up next, we're going to do if for a date. So we're just going to grab a January 2nd as well. We're going to grab a January 2nd, and then we're going to grab a January 2nd. We're going to include a time, and we're going to put over here 11 a.m. And lastly, we're going to have a January 2nd, and also we're going to do a January 31st. So we're going to put if, and then grab our dates. So date 1, date 2, date 1 equals date 2. Great. What's going to happen? We'll just say World Series. If not, no, which again, close out. And again, because these are the exact same times and dates, World Series, since these are different times, that is no. And since these are completely different dates, that is no. Next, we have numbers. So let's add in a few over here. So we're going to do 5, 11, put 55, 11, and then 162, and then 100. And let's make sure each of those, well, let's pick 162 again. So here is what we're going to do. We're going to do a comparison first. So normally, right? But if number 1, and we're going to do a greater than number 2. It's our logical expression. We're going to say greater, right? If it's not, we're going to say it is less. And you guys are going to see the problem with this in a second. So let's put that over here. So this one says it's less, right? 5 and 11, that is true. 55 and 11, this says it's greater, 100% correct over there. And then this says 162 and 162, which is less, but it's not. These are equal, but our if only allows us to say greater or less. This is where we have the opportunity to put in a nested if statement. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy the same exact formula over here, and we're going to do a nested. So instead of having less over here, we're going to remove that. We're going to add in another statement. So we're going to do if, and this time we're going to check if they are equal. So we're going to copy this over here. Right. Equal. gonna put over here equal. And if they are not equal, that means that they're going to be less. So it checks first if they're greater. They're not greater, then it goes to the if statement, which assumes that they're equal. They're going to be equal. And if that also doesn't work, we're going to go to another statement that says they are not equal, which is going to be less in this instance. So less. And then make sure you close this out. It can get pretty complicated if you are building out multiple nested if statements. And again, I can show you guys that in another video. But instead of less over here, we have equal. Hope you guys learned a few new things from this video. By the way, if you want to learn how to implement these into a template, I made a hybrid weekly planner right over here. Make sure to watch this video. Super quick and easy.